What's up, YouTube? Poor Man Podcast back with another video. Today's video is going to be Dr. Helen Smith explains why men need to boycott marriage. Before I get into the video, though, got to do YouTube stuff. The goal is 75,000 subscribers by August. It's a crazy goal. It's a big goal, but it's my goal. I know the only way I'm going to get to my goal is if you give me the HBO special. Do you know what the HBO special is? That's the Help a Brother Out special. All right, so go on and help a brother out. Hit the like and the subscribe button for more content. I'm going to give y'all a second to do that. All right, now let's get into the video. Dr. Helen Smith explains why men need to boycott marriage. Let's see what she got to say.
Where is Mr. Right? Well, ladies, he may be hard to find because men are apparently going on strike, boycotting marriage, among many other things.
According to a recent study, the importance of marriage has gone up for the women up to 37% and down for men to 29%. Here to explain the trend is forensic psychologist and author of the controversial book Men on Strike. Dr. Helen Smith is here this morning. Doctor, nice to see you this morning.
Nice to see you. Thank you for having me on.
We were having a bit of a discussion about this last weekend
I saw
on
that.
the show. And the argument is what? That men simply are giving up hope on marriage because they're feeling beaten down?
No, I don't think they're giving up on hope on marriage. I think what they're doing is they're looking at it, the cost reward. Men look at things in terms of cost analysis. And the penalties for marriage are so high and the rewards now are so low. First of all, there's legal costs of marriage. There are so many men now who are just saying, you know what, it's just not worth it to me. I'm going to be stuck paying the alimony. I'm going to be stuck paying for child support. And it's not just legal reasons. It's also psychological ones where men feel that basically they don't really have rights in marriage. Women hold all the cards now in reproduction and all kinds of things, and men don't.
Well, that's all true. I mean, I agree with that completely. But it still doesn't absolve men of the responsibility to stop complaining about how the cards are against them and man up and become men, because you don't become a man until you assume responsibility.
And here's the thing. I agree with both of them. I do believe that when you look at an alpha figure, you look for certain characters, and some of those characters are, is he able to take accountability? Is he able to accept excessive responsibility for not only himself but the people around him? Those are traits that you typically look for in a guy that you would call an alpha, right? And I do believe that marriage, although it is a flawed institution, is the best way if you want to have a balanced heir. Okay, we can act like cohabitating is a thing where a man that's, and we're talking about average men here, not content creators that are making $250K a year, $350K a year. I'm talking about average men that are making $50K a year. Most average men are not going to be able to convince a woman to cohabitate for 12 years to have a child and still have all the benefits of what marriage would be in terms of the unionship. And I do completely agree. The institution of marriage itself is absolutely flawed, and it's something that we have to discuss as a whole if we want to turn what's going on around. A lot of it boils down to the fact that men are getting a horrible deal. You have women going out bragging, saying 40% of breadwinner or 40% of households are led by a female breadwinner and this and this and that. Well, that's not hard to do if you're married to the government. That's not hard to do if you're a single mother. So it's not surprising that if 40% of households are led by a female breadwinner, why are only 3% of the alimony cases granted to men? It's a flawed system, and the movement that has told us that they're about equality, that's absolutely lying if you ask me. The movement that has told us that they're about equality has done nothing when it comes to this part of the equality, quote unquote equality. And I'm starting to believe, like, truly, honestly, I'm starting to believe that this is a plot against the American family. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So you look at the Wright brothers and you look at what they did when you get the plane, and just follow me here a little bit. You build a plane, and then in 20, 30 years, we're dropping bombs out of them in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? Humans have a track record for taking good things and making them bad. I mean, you look at a cell phone. We have the access of all of human information in its entirety, and we use it to look at cat videos or whatever it may be. I mean, and this going towards the birth control pill. It was created for mothers that were married and had already had too many children, so they could take this pill, and that would make it so that they wouldn't have children until they were ready to have more children if they wanted more children. Obviously, you get that to some teenagers, and they believe, oh, this means we can go out and have sex without any repercussions, and you get the sexual revolution, right? You build welfare in good faith for women that are married, because the original benefits, the expanded benefits for welfare were for women that were married. It was supposed to be an insurance policy just in case there were widows, in case she was widowed, in case her husband went and died or was doing something, whatever, and he died. Well, you take that and now you get 40% of women are breadwinners in their households, and I'm an independent woman because I'm married to the government, right? It seems as though there's something that is separating us. And I'm not this big conspiracy guy, but it's so obvious that people, and men specifically, aren't getting married and don't want to get married because the laws are unjust. And instead of switching the laws, we're acting like it's not completely ridiculous. These divorce laws, these marriage laws, we're just acting like it's not ridiculous. And I'm starting to assume that it's a plot to make it so that men and women are just separated. Men and women are not together. We're just gonna eventually, I'm trying to tell y'all, people are becoming so distant. We only communicate through technology. We only communicate through these social media apps where they can just turn you off at any moment because they don't agree with what you say. Pretty soon it's just gonna be people in boxes that go to work. And all you're going to be doing is going to work to pay off a box and a bed that you don't even get to sleep in because you're so busy working all the time and you have no time to do anything else for yourself. And at the end of the day, you won't even have anybody to come home to. I believe it's like it almost looks like it's you get, and this is because the most valuable resource is human beings. A lot of people look at gold and silver, cryptocurrency. The most valuable resource in the world is human beings. How do you get more people in the labor force? Well, make sure that there's inflation. Make sure their money isn't worth much, so they have to continue to go to work to keep up with what's going on. Give them materialism. Tell them that they get happiness through things, right? Separate the men and women so both of them have to work harder and more hours to live. If you're living by yourself, you have to work more hours to live. So who benefits from that? The person who's ahead of the company that's running whatever's going on. So it almost seems as though there's literally a plot to get people to just be alone so that we can be exploited individually. Because humans are social beings. Regardless if y'all want to admit it or not, humans are nonetheless social beings. So when we're separated socially, we tend to react with negative emotion. Depression, anxiety, and you see these things going up, and you see it just seems to be, and I don't want to go down this conspiracy road, my bad, I already probably talked for too long. Let's continue the video. It just seems to be a little fishy. Like, it's so obvious of how we can fix this problem with the nuclear family and continue to go in this more balanced state where the children that are coming up in the next generation are actually balanced and able to put ideas together themselves. But it seems as though there's some plot that doesn't want that to happen. Like, we want men and women to be separated. And I mean, it could just be let's just continue the video.
Man would take such a raw deal. I don't consider that a man.
Well, it's not a raw deal. You derive deep satisfaction as a man by taking responsibility for other people. That's the only place you get deep satisfaction.
So men are supposed to take a really bad deal and sign their rights away, and you call that a good deal. Look, you would understand economic rewards.
I did.
You did. Well, that's good, and maybe you have a really good wife, but a lot of men don't feel that way.
But see, Doctor, here's where I get confused. And forgive me, I just went to a wedding last night, so I'm feeling all loved up.
Euphoric?
Very, because it was beautiful. And any time that you do see a wedding, that the hope is renewed, and it does remind you of what's great about marriage. And so you act as though marriage is such a raw deal for men, but you do get companionship, and you get love, and you get a family, and I see men enjoying all of that and embracing all of that.
That's a different topic. Those are also things that you can get with a relationship. We're talking about the legal aspect of marriage. I'm talking about the political and the legal ramifications of marriage, where men aren't getting such a good deal there. And there are thousands of men across the country that I've spoken to and that will tell you differently. And the statistics are bearing that out. A lot of men, you think men need to man up, but to man up, you have to be getting something out of that relationship. What you're saying is that men are getting something just by having a woman. They're just so lucky.
Here's the thing. They're allowed. The one thing I agree with you on is men are getting away with having children without marrying the woman.
They're not getting away with it. What's happening is a lot of women, number one, don't want them. The lower level women, what's happening is 40% of the women who are breadwinners, a lot of those lower level women are making $17,000 to $23,000.
Exactly.
Those women use the government to pay for themselves. They don't want a man. So rather than some men are just opting.
That's a
Why hasn't a man written this book? Why hasn't a man written this book? You
because men can't speak up. I'm here to speak up because people will actually listen to a woman. It's really unfortunate. I want the next man, and I'm hoping by this book that next man is out there.
What's frustrating? Hold on, I want to say something as a man, because this always has frustrated me when I see commercials when men sort of speak up, they're acting like men, right? And all these commercials are out there where the man's like the lazy guy on the couch.
He's a tool.
But look what the culture is doing to the men. The culture is telling men, you are no good. You are no good in marriage. You are no good. Even you all are here saying man up to men, and that's a really negative message to be sending to men.
But what do you think the solution is?
The solution is for us to have fair laws and things for men, and to also these commercials. We need to look at the culture and say, you know what? Quit treating men like trash. Seriously, we treat men very poorly in this society, from all the way from men who don't want to go to college anymore because there are many things in college that go on. It is a female-dominated place where men are not treated in a way that is fair. It's easy to sit here and say, as high-level men and women, that things are going well for you, but I've seen many men who are average, lower, and even higher-level men who aren't having such a good time. Yeah. And if you read my book, you might understand a little bit more about.
The book is called Men on Strike. It is compelling, and I think you make a compelling argument.
An awful lot of people are reading your book, by the way.
We'd love to hear what you all have to say. You can find us all on Twitter. Dr. Helen Smith, thanks so much.
And this just kind of goes further, and because that's the end of the video, I'm just giving my final thoughts. But kind of expanding on the idea a little bit here. It seems like, I mean, you have men that are getting in these situations with women that we can't expect anything out of. So as a man, I'm expected to give you 50% of everything I own currently and ever will own. Not only that, but then I have to pay for your lifestyle. Depending on what happens, I have to pay for your lifestyle for the rest of your life, even if you go off and get remarried, or even if you go off and you start to shack up with some dude randomly. And now both of y'all are living off my money. And we can't even ask in return for a woman to be fit. For you to be fit when we get married and stay fit throughout the marriage. We can't even say, I want to have sex with my wife without that being a conversation as far as, well, why is everything got to be about sex, this and this and that? Like, men are expected to sacrifice everything, which is what we have been doing. It just seems as though there's just more and more taking, right? Men have sacrificed forever. Men have, in terms of historically speaking, 99.9% of all deaths in war were men fighting for women and in defense of women and children. Look at all the inventions around you. Most of them, the vast majority of them, were created by men. All right. When you look at patents, you're looking at 97% of the patents are filed by men. So inventions are being made mostly by men, following women in groups, not solo women. Generally speaking, the 2% of women, or in 2% of that group is women in groups that are making inventions, and then 1% is women solo. So when we look at this curve and with this whole idea of men being toxic and everything we do is toxic, how could you say that on Twitter, which was created by a man? How could you say that on Facebook, which is created by a man? Sure, there's a bell curve, but on both sides of the extremes, you get murderers on this side, but you get iPhones on this side. There's a bell curve, and in the middle, you're going to get 50K, right? That's just how it works. Men are creatures of extremes. Sure, some guys go off and do horrendous crimes that we all can admit are bad, and you can say that that's quote-unquote toxic masculinity, but then what do you call the other side when you're making iPhones and when you're making Twitter and you're making Facebook and you're allowing and building these institutions so that women can go on and complain about how bad they have it? It just seems to be one-sided, man, and a lot of this stuff talking about equality just doesn't seem to be for men. It just, if you look at it honestly. Not only that, but it seems to be a sinister plot behind all of it. Just because, and I'm not a conspiracy guy, I may not even ever bring this up again, but just because it's so obvious, and it's just it's comically ridiculous how bad men have it in America in terms of legally. It's comically ridiculous, and it's so obvious, but nobody's doing anything about it. And I feel like if you actually wanted to solve the problem of marriage and building strong nuclear families in America, you would start with the marriage laws that are obviously unfair. especially in a modern society where you have women, 40% of women being the breadwinners of the family. There needs to be a change. Till next time.